The upside of never trying is never risking the pain of failure. But without risk, without some form of risk or adversity or chance of failure, what do you gain from life? It is the epitome of staying comfortable. It is the epitome of staying in your comfort zone, to never risk anything. But the level of risk that we undertake must be managed. Must be managed by where we are in life, must be managed by the choices that can be impacted, how much control we have over the situation. Our tolerance for risk often determines our level of success. Those who can tolerate more risk, more stress, more anxiety, more pressure will achieve greater things in life. Those who can't often live mediocre lives. And this comes down to everything in life. How much risk are you willing to take? How much pressure are you willing to handle? How much stress are you willing to load up to see what you can achieve, to see what you can have in this life? But at the same point, how much have you got to lose in those risks? We often find people who take immense risks, who change the world, who take on these burdens and achieve ridiculous levels of things. Either are obsessive and will risk too much, lack empathy for those around them, or are willing to lose everything because the only thing that matters is achieving the final goal. So there is a level of working out which risk parameters you work on. And I feel on this one that often the risk parameters shift as you get older. When I was younger, I was willing to risk it all. I would have fallen in the first camp. Unfortunately, I was not one who was the success story, but I risked it all for basketball. I risked everything to chase a dream. I was willing to be homeless. I was willing to sacrifice friends and relationships and everything to get that goal. Now, as a father, as a husband, as a business owner, I still have a high level of tolerance to risk, but nowhere near on the spectrum that I used to. Because if I fail, well, there are others who will handle the burden of my mistakes. But there is a catch-22 within that. And I feel that this is a unique blessing that comes with being a father. That the day you become a father, those little ones, those perfect little people, those perfect miniature versions of you, now solely rely on you to provide for them, to look after them, to give them the life that they deserve. This gives you a level of dedication, of determination, of another gear, another level to be able to overcome obstacles that are placed in front of you for them. Yes, my tolerance for risk has shrunk a little bit because, well, I've got to make sure there's a roof over our head. I've got to make sure that there is food on our table. And sometimes I swing and I miss. And those days fucking hurt. But I will get back up, and I will get back up, and I will get back up, and I will get back up again. Because I know that I cannot fail. I will not fail. And within that not failing, within that of not letting them down, means that I have to risk. I have to risk change. I have to risk taking on new ventures. I have to risk, sacrificing the old me to become the greatest version of me. Yeah, if you never try, you'll never taste the pain of failure. But you'll never taste the sweetness of success either. Gym, sports, I think are a great metaphor for life. We're heading towards the grand final basketball game. Yeah, it's kickabouts. It's just the local comp. But the joy of winning those games, we won a hard-fought semi-final last week, was that the probability of failure was huge. We shouldn't have won that game. There was no way that we, as the 4th seed, should have beaten the 1st seed, undefeated team. We weren't evenly matched. We were the ultimate underdogs. The chance of failure was astronomical. In fact, everyone assumed that we would, including the other team. They came in telling the referees and everybody that we're going to blow them out. And at half-time, when they hadn't, they told the refs, they're like, we don't know what to do. We were expecting to demolish them. The joy of that win is astronomical because the chance of winning, the chance of success was so minute. So to overcome those obstacles is such a great feeling. And that's in something that has no bearing on life, no meaning, no nothing. It doesn't change anything. It's just for fun. And yet there are emotions built up in that the joy comes from the risk of failure because we overcame. And that applies to life, it applies to gym, it applies to health. But one of the things that you can do to, mitigate the risk, to mitigate the anxiety, to mitigate the stress that is placed on you, is to build up such a fucking catalogue of times that you have overcome, that you have placed yourself under stress, placed yourself in a position where failure is possible, potentially probable, and you overcome. You find something within yourself and you do that. Again, this is why I think health and fitness and exercise is the perfect way to build this. Chasing greatness isn't a fitness program. It is a life program. It is about becoming the greatest version of yourself. That's the point of this. That's what we're working towards. Creating the greatest version of you. That's what we're here for. It just so happens that health and fitness is the baseline of that. It's the base of the pyramid that builds you up into the greatest version of you. Because if you don't have your health and fitness, you cannot build the other ones. Yeah, you could build some, but they're built on sand, not stone. You build that sound structure and it allows you to overcome. Because it builds these skills of going, well, I'm someone who's deliberately, consciously, and willingly, every single day, placed myself in a situation that is uncomfortable, that is difficult, that is hard, and if it's in the weight room where I'm chasing failure, and in fact, succeeding is reaching ultimate failure. It's not quitting. It's not stopping when it's time to stop. It's pushing until I get to the absolute end. That transitions into your ability to handle stress. You have taught yourself the habit of being able to continue pushing forward. The habit and skill of being able to handle that load and keep going. Same with the weighted walks. There is weight on your shoulders. There is pressure. You are tired. You want to stop. You want to quit. And you have to battle the voices in your head. You have to have negotiations, arguments, discussions, fights, whatever it might be, to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And you build this catalogue of success. This is the fucking man I am. I'm a man who can handle this shit. I'm a man who can overcome. I'm a man who can stare failure in the face and win. As you progress, we'll progress into things like misogis. So a misogi is once a year at least. I think quarterly is a better option, but at least once a year, where you take on something so challenging, so beyond the scope of what you think is plausible, of what you think is possible, that there is at least a 50% chance that you are going to fail. And you find out what you're made of. You'll find out how much you have in the tank. You find out what you are capable of by pushing forward, by doing the work, by building up. This is how we progress. This is how we push forward. This is the differentiator. And that one moment then builds this massive credibility for yourself. That it builds this thing of, if I can fucking overcome that, this stress of life, this stress pressure that has been placed upon me or I've chosen to place upon me, it's nothing. I can withstand it. I can carry this burden. I can keep moving forward. I can do the work. I can do what is required. That's what we're building towards. We're building towards you becoming the greatest version of yourself. About building this bulletproofness that allows you to overcome. That's what we are chasing with this. That is what we are working towards. That's who we want to be with this. And that's why we must undertake a chasing greatness, and we must continue to level up. Because yes, not trying allows you to avoid the pain of failure. But not trying also forces you to miss out on the benefits and the joys and the success of life. Forces you to never realize your potential, to never see what you are actually capable of. It's dying at 25, but waiting to be buried at 75. It's a life unlived. It's a life not even lived, it's just fucking existing. The risk is where life happens. It's where you grow, it's where you become a greater man, so that you can provide for your family, so that you can do those things, so that you can be a father who inspires his children to live their best life. Because you always have to come back to that concept that you are your son's first hero and your daughter's first love. If you are a present father who is active in their life, how you live your life will dictate so much of their future. What you do and the choices you make matter. So do you want to live a timid life? Do you want to live a life where you never risk anything? So yeah, you never fail, but you never actually do anything. You just existed. And that's what you taught your kids that they will do as well, that they will just exist. Or will you give them the opportunity to learn from what you do? Because it isn't do as I say, it's monkey see, monkey do. They will mimic you, they will build that internally, and that will become who they are. So what kind of version do you want them to be? Because the greatest legacy you will ever lead is who your children become. That is you as a man's legacy, is looking back at your children and who they become. That is your greatest success or failure. But it all starts with the choices that you make here and now. So do you continue to play it safe? Do you continue to avoid the risk? Do you continue to just exist? Or do you start pushing your boundaries? Do you start taking mini risks? Do you start challenging yourself and seeing what you are capable of? Will you get knocked down but get back up again? What will you choose in this life? Because our choices ultimately are what dictate it. Life is going to happen, but 10% of life is what happens, and 90% of it is how we react to it. So we might as well start training for it. We might as well start training to be risk averse, to handle the risk, to not be risk adverse, to be able to take on that risk and know that we have this plethora of proof that we can handle it. Because that's what life's about. And that's where the joy of life comes from. So if you are ready for that, please shoot me a message. Let's see what your potential is. Let's get you into chasing greatness and start pushing you forward. Start taking a risk. Take a risk on yourself. The greatest thing in your life is you. So take a risk on it to start improving your life. Let's make that happen with Chasing Greatness. Now, if you're still on the fence, click the link in my bio, grab my top 10 tools to transform your mental toughness. And lastly, as always, if you found value in this, if you enjoyed it, if you know someone who needs to hear this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. But most importantly, hit that subscribe button, because it helps me, it helps you, and it tells the universe that you're a man who's fucking serious about becoming the greatest version of yourself. And like everything in Chasing Greatness Daily, I am here every single day, rain, hail, or shine, no matter what. So hit that subscribe button, because I'll be back again tomorrow. Until then.